The snow fell heavily outside as Daniel Carter sat alone in his office at Sterling Home Goods headquarters, reviewing store closure reports. At 37, he had inherited his father's retail empire and transformed it into a billion-dollar business through ruthless efficiency, closing underperforming locations, cutting costs, maximizing profits. Tonight, he was finalizing the list of 20 stores to close after the holidays. His assistant had suggested he visit some locations incognito to see operations firsthand before making final decisions. Daniel had initially dismissed the idea, but curiosity eventually won out. Tomorrow, he would visit 3 stores on the closure list, dressed as a regular customer. The next evening, Daniel stood in store 247 in a working-class neighborhood, wearing jeans and a jacket with snow still clinging to his shoulders. The store was quiet, only a handful of customers browsing the half-empty shelves. The holiday decorations looked tired, the floor needed work, and he could already see why this location was on the closure list. He was examining clearance items when he heard a voice behind him. "Excuse me, sir, are you the manager?" Daniel turned to find a young woman, maybe 26, holding a small boy bundled in a red jacket. She had blonde hair pulled back and looked exhausted beyond her years. The child, perhaps 3 years old, was shivering despite being wrapped in his mother's arms. "No, I am just a customer," Daniel said. The woman's face fell. "Oh, I am sorry to bother you." She started to walk away, then stopped and turned back, desperation overriding her embarrassment. "Do you know if this store is staying open? I heard rumors they might close after Christmas." Daniel felt uncomfortable. "I do not know." "Why?" "Because my son needs more blanket," she said simply, her voice breaking. "His jacket is not warm enough and our apartment heating barely works, but I cannot afford the expensive blankets at the big stores. This store has the clearance section where I can actually afford things. If it closes, I do not know where else to go." She shifted the shivering boy in her arms. "I am sorry. You do not need to hear about my problems. This store matters to people like me. I know it probably does not make much money, but it is all some of us have." Before Daniel could respond, she hurried toward the clearance section. He found himself following, watching as she carefully examined every blanket, checking prices and quality, her face a mixture of hope and despair. The boy looked up at Daniel with huge eyes. "I am cold," he said simply. "I know, buddy," his mother said, blinking back tears. "Mommy is trying to fix it." She selected a thin fleece blanket, the cheapest option, at $9. "This will have to work." Daniel looked at the blanket, then at the boy's inadequate jacket, then at the mother's worn clothing and the canvas bag she carried that looked like it held all her essential possessions. "That blanket is not going to be warm enough," Daniel heard himself say. The woman's face flushed. "It is what I can afford. I know. I am not criticizing." Daniel pulled a thicker blanket from a higher shelf, a heavy fleece that had been marked down to $25. "This one will actually keep him warm. Let me buy it for you." "I not accept that," the woman said immediately. "Why not?" "Because I do not take charity. I work for what my son and I have. We may not have much, but we have our dignity." Daniel respected that. "Then consider it a Christmas gift from a stranger who was once cold too. Please. Your son needs a warm blanket more than I need $25. After a long moment, the woman nodded. "Thank you. I am Madison, by the way. And this is Tyler." "Daniel," he said, using his real name without thinking. At the register, Daniel paid for the blanket while Madison waited nearby. The cashier, an older woman whose name tag read Ruth, smiled warmly. "That is very kind of you," Ruth said. "We see a lot of Madisons in here. Single mothers, working poor, people trying so hard to make ends meet. This store may not be fancy, but it matters to them." "Do you think it will close?" Daniel asked. Ruth's smile faded. "The rumor is yes. After Christmas. The corporate people do not think we make enough profit. But profit is not everything, is it? We help people who do not have other options." Daniel handed the blanket to Madison and Tyler. The little boy's face lit up. "It is so soft." "Thank you, mister." "You are very welcome," Daniel said, feeling something uncomfortable twist in his chest. That night, Daniel sat in his home office, staring at the closure list. Store 247 was scheduled to close January 15th. He pulled up the financials. The store was barely breaking even, occupying expensive real estate in a declining neighborhood. By every business metric, closing it made sense, but he kept hearing Madison's voice. This store matters to people like me. He kept seeing Tyler shivering in an inadequate jacket. He kept thinking about Ruth saying profit was not everything. Over the next week, Daniel visited the other stores on his closure list, always incognito. He met Maria, a grandmother buying affordable bedding for the grandchildren she had taken in after her daughter's death. He met James, a veteran living on disability trying to furnish a small apartment after years of homelessness. He met Yolanda, a teacher buying classroom supplies with her own money because her school could not afford them. Every person had a story. Every person depended on these underperforming stores because the profitable stores in wealthy neighborhoods were inaccessible to them. Daniel called an emergency board meeting. "I am not closing those 20 stores," he announced. The board erupted in protests. His CFO pulled up spreadsheets showing projected losses. His VP of operations argued he was being emotional rather than strategic. "You are right," Daniel said. "I am being emotional. I met a woman named Madison whose son was cold because she could not afford a proper blanket. She told me our store mattered to people like her. She was right. We have built a billion-dollar company by serving wealthy customers in wealthy neighborhoods. We abandoned the customers who actually need us." He pulled up his own presentation. "Here is my proposal. We keep those stores open. We turn them into community hubs, partnering with local organizations to provide job training, financial literacy classes, and affordable goods. We take a smaller profit margin in those locations. We prove that a successful business can serve all communities, not just profitable ones. That is not how retail works," his CFO said. "Then we change how retail works," Daniel replied. "My father built this company on the principle that everyone deserves quality goods at fair prices. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that. I'm not forgetting anymore." 3 months later, Daniel stood in store 247, now renovated and bustling with activity. The store hosted weekend workshops on budgeting and resume writing. It partnered with local charities to provide winter coats and school supplies. It was still not the most profitable location, but it was sustainable and making a real difference. Madison was there, now working part-time at the store while attending community college classes offered in the meeting room Sterling had built. "You did not just save the store," she told Daniel. "You transformed it into something that changes lives. Do you know how many people have gotten jobs because of the training programs here? How many kids have warm coats because of the partnership with the shelter?" "It was the right thing to do," Daniel said simply. "It was more than that. You could have just kept the store open. Instead, you made it matter even more." Madison gestured to Tyler, now playing in the children's section while she worked. "My son is warm now, but more than that, I have hope. Because someone saw us as people who mattered, not just numbers on a spreadsheet." At the one-year anniversary celebration of the new community model, Daniel addressed the crowd of employees, customers, and community partners. "A year ago, a woman told me not to close this store because her son needed more blanket. That simple statement changed everything. It reminded me that behind every transaction is a human being with real needs and real struggles. That success is not just about profit, it is about impact." Thank you, Madison, for teaching me what business should actually be about. If this story reminded you that people matter more than profit margins, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about when compassion changed how you saw success.